In this video, we'll be telling you 8 reasons why an INTP is still single. You've probably heard of the Big Bang Theory, right? You might be addicted to rewatching the show over and over because you relate to Sheldon Cooper. Not only is he a huge brainiac, but he's also a social outcast who isn't afraid to be who he is. If you can relate with this fictional character or other real-life folks like Charles Darwin or Albert Einstein, then you might just be one of the architects. Wait, what? Let us explain. According to the Myers-Briggs Type Inventory, your personality falls into the INTP category. It stands for Introverted, Intuitive, Thinking, and Perceiving. This means you're an original, and only 5% of the entire world's population shares the same traits as you. If you find it difficult to trust that analysis, then here's a few traits that might sound super familiar. You might be in your head all the time, do anything you can to get away from drama, and keep thinking about logical stuff. You probably aren't a social butterfly unless you're in a crowd that you're super comfortable with. Of course, that crowd is only made up of people who think exactly like you do. Even though most of these traits sound awesome, there might be one thing that's still missing in your life. We bet you still don't have a romantic partner to share your life with, and we're about to tell you all the reasons why INTPs are still single. From being straight up rude to having an issue with authority, we'll be covering everything in this quick video. Stay tuned. Reason number 8, you're not an open book. If we had to choose some sort of headgear for an INTP, it would probably be a knight's helmet. It's like you have slits for eyes, which means nobody can stare into your eyes deep enough to see what you're thinking. In fact, nobody even knows what makes you tick or what makes you happy. Most of the time, you're way too immersed in your internal world where everything makes sense. This leaves you quite oblivious to the external world, which means you're not someone who can easily take a hint or two. With this personality, it's almost impossible to let someone fall in love with you. In fact, it can make you look withdrawn or disinterested most of the time, which is probably the reason why your last date didn't text you back. If you've ever been on a first date with an extrovert who wants to know things about you, we can bet you've told them no personal details. While that's just the kind of person you are, they might have thought you're too much of a closed book. Now, if you're an INTP who's looking for love, you should probably start by working on yourself. It's time to open up and share a little. It won't hurt, we promise. Reason number 7, you doubt yourself. INTPs are brainstormers and problem solvers. They don't want issues to keep lingering for too long, so they try to find out how the world works and how to fix it ASAP. But when you're trying to figure out how to fix things, you're just doing it in your head. You're not sharing the decision-making process with anyone because you think your own thoughts are more than enough. Unfortunately, this can lead to extremely overwhelming situations where your supposed solution simply doesn't work. And that's when the self-doubt starts pouring in. Even though INTPs are confident people, they aren't very good at dealing with failure. If something doesn't work out, their confidence goes down a never-ending downward spiral. With this trait, landing a romantic partner becomes very complicated. Not many people have the kind of patience it takes to understand the thought process of an INTP, let alone date them. It's just bad luck that you end up with nobody to share your romantic side with. If you're on the pursuit to find love, then you need to start keeping the self-doubt under control. Every solution you have isn't going to work, and that's okay. It's also okay to not have all the answers. Instead of trying to fix everything yourself like Bob the Builder, try to keep your partner equally involved in the process. Chances are that you'll figure out how to navigate a relationship much better if you take help from someone who's interested in you. Number 6, you can be quite rude. Everyone knows that INTPs are logical people. This means you rely on concrete evidence like facts and objectivity to get through life. On the flip side, you also reject all subjective stuff in your life because it's simply beyond your understanding. Unfortunately, objectivity and subjectivity need to go hand in hand in the real world. In fact, they don't even get along in most cases. When you start bringing logic and reason into love, chances are that it just won't work out. Even though this huge dependence on logic always seems to work for you, it's time you acknowledge that not everyone thinks the same way as you do. So every time you're trying to simplify your thoughts and explain the logic to other people, you come off as super rude and condescending. Nobody likes being talked down to, whether that's in a workplace or in a romantic relationship. In case of intimate relationships, everyone wants to have a partner who values their thoughts and opinions. Have you ever made someone feel insulted when you were just trying to explain some logic to them? Yeah, you were probably rude without even noticing it. It's time to bring that trait down a notch and throw your dismissive attitude out the window. Reason number 5, you're not a big planner. Like we said before, INTPs are huge brainstormers. This means that your biggest strength is generating groundbreaking ideas that are both awesome and tremendous. But will you ever make that idea come to life? Probably not. The problem with INTPs is that they go nuts trying to figure out boring details and step-by-step procedures. They just want to get from point A to point B without worrying about how. This shows that you're more focused on the bigger picture and spend less time worrying about the little things. Even though that sounds like a great way to achieve ultimate success in life, it isn't very helpful when it comes to finding love. In relationships, INTPs are those who forget every little detail about their partner. If you're a part of this rare personality type, then you already know what we're talking about. You don't remember your partner's birthday or what their favorite meal is, because who cares about little details when you're planning on marrying someone, right? Unfortunately, that's not true. If you don't show your partner that you care about them enough to remember their likes and dislikes, chances are they'll run away from you because they feel you aren't interested in them. Reason number 4, you don't like talking about your feelings. Remember how we said you aren't an open book? Well, the truth is you don't like to share a piece of your heart with anyone. The real world feels like foreign territory to INTPs like you, so you decide that it's best to always keep your guard up. Even if you run into someone you know in the street, you'd much rather just skip the small talk and go back to lurking in the shadows. Talking about emotions and being intimate is a very difficult experience for INTPs. In some twisted way, it's just not their love language. Unfortunately, closeness is the norm when it comes to forming intimate relationships. If your partner doesn't know anything about you except your name, then they'll be very quick to think that you don't trust them. Of course, this doesn't mean you bring up your childhood trauma in the first few dates, but don't make them feel like you're an emotionless robot either. Remember that everyone has feelings, and it's totally normal to acknowledge yours once in a while. If you're someone who has trouble talking about their feelings, then we recommend taking things one step at a time. Instead of spilling your guts out, start by sharing one personal thing about you with your partner. Over time, you'll learn to become more comfortable sharing personal anecdotes, even if you've never done that in the past. Reason number 3, you want to be independent. INTPs are addicted to independence. You probably think that being alone is the best way to do whatever you want without being judged. Having anyone too close to you sounds like a threat to your super valuable solitude. So, instead of letting anyone in, you choke on your own emotions. You avoid all types of small talk about yourself or just come up with another lame excuse to get away from social gatherings. Although there's nothing wrong about wanting to be independent and achieving your goals, you need to start becoming comfortable with sharing your space with someone else. If you find someone you like, let them into your life with open arms and make them feel at home. If you don't, chances are that they'll think you're not willing to share your life with anyone. Nobody wants to be with a hyper-independent narcissistic. Instead of keeping all your thoughts to yourself, try sharing a few of them with somebody you trust. Trust us, you'll thank us for it later. Reason number 2, you don't like authority figures. INTPs work under their own rules and prefer to stay alone all the time. In most cases, these individuals have an issue with authority because others don't understand their logic. This means that you've probably gotten into an argument with your superiors at work or with a cop for running a red light on an empty street. Even if your logic makes sense to you, that probably isn't the case for other people. When you put that into the context of romantic relationships, you'll see that it's a recipe for disaster. Imagine this, your partner gives you some advice for your betterment, your hyper-independence kicks in, and you tell them never to tell you what to do because you're a better judge of things. Unfortunately, that sounds like you're undermining their advice and thoughts. Not only is that rude, but it'll also be super inconsiderate for a partner who is just trying to look out for you. Instead of lashing out at your partner at the smallest things, try to take their ideas into consideration. After all, they might just be giving you some life-changing advice that you're sleeping on because of some authority issues. Reason number 1, you're not like most people. Of course, we already know you don't care about the mainstream world, but hey, it doesn't mean that others won't find your behavior a bit weird. If you're too immersed in your thoughts to care about untied shoelaces or inside-out shirt, chances are that you'll become an easy target for ridicule. People might think you're too lazy, careless, or just plain sloppy, and that's the reason why you're still single. Even though social life is super hard for you, you're gonna have to learn how to fit in. You're free to be your own individual person with a unique personality, but withdrawing from the mainstream world entirely isn't helping anyone. Some of your romantic partners might be attracted to your quirks, but chances are that those are also hurting your chances for a second date. So, when you're looking for love, just try 10% harder to fit in. We're sure it'll be more than enough. And that's a wrap for this video. Are you an INTP who's still single? Tell us about the worst date you've been to in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out other videos on our channel. Click now to watch.